Okay,
Good, good.
ready to do
I
our
got
countdown?
I got my Mountain Dew. We're good.
Oh my
Ready?
gosh, Mountain Dew Code Red. That's like battery
Code
acid,
red.
bud.
Whatever. You know what? Like I said, we're all gonna die of something. I'm gonna die happy.
Have you had that, Jill? Mountain Dew Code Red?
No, I've heard of it.
It's freaking
Fantastic.
basically she's drinking food coloring, is what we're saying. That's basically what she's drinking.
With bubbles. With bubbles.
Carbonated food coloring.
Yeah, great.
We're never
Hey,
gonna
you
get
know
a
what?
brand deal with Mountain Dew.
It tastes like cherries. All right, that's all I care about.
Like
All right,
cherry
what's your name?
lozenges, though, like not genuine
It's
cherries.
not-
It's like cherry cough medicine.
all right, cherry halls. All right, whatever.
Yeah. All right.
You enjoy it.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Ready?
3,
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On Our Heads. Today we have an amazing guest, Jill from the UK, and my lovely co-host, Dirty Skittles.
And lovely. Thank you.
You are lovely.
That's like that sarcastic tone where like I'm gonna get in trouble after for talking about her Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah, you are.
So how are you, Jill?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to the run up to Christmas now. I've started thinking about the holidays and buying gifts and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing today, is looking at ideas for gifts for family members.
When do you start decorating?
Oh, really late. A week after I've had enough. I want it all down again.
Really?
But
So you take it down before the new year?
pretty much just immediately after the new year. But I know it's become a real thing for people to, start immediately in beginning of December, and it goes on to mid-January. And yeah, why not? If that's, if you enjoy it, that's great.
Yeah, I started the day after Halloween.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
But it brings me joy. I love Christmas, and I was like, why not? I'm just gonna do it now. Yeah.
It's knowing, this is part of the theme of what we're talking about today, isn't it? It's about knowing what you enjoy and what's good for you, and it's not doing anyone else any harm. So
Right. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm curious to see though. I did wonder if by New Year's if I was gonna be tired of looking at it. I don't think so, but you never know,
We're putting up our tree the day after Thanksgiving.
Which is a big thing for you, right? Because when was the last?
Yeah. So we, in the 28 years that my wife and I have been together, we have never had like a communal tree, mainly because we have 8 freaking cats, right? And cats are little assholes. But this year, we're going to have a tree in our piano room. We got a nice fake tree. We're going to put that up. And then I have a tree that I put up in my office. Now, I didn't do it last year because I was in such a horrible, depressive state that the holidays were a blur. But this year, I've already got like idea for where the tree's going to go. We're going to decorate the front of the house. I have some blow ups that are going to go out. So it's helping with my mental state, and I'm really excited. So.
Yeah, great, good. Yeah. Again, it's knowing what you enjoy and knowing what's good for you. It's different for all of us.
Yeah, I have a question, Jill. When would you say you started to really pay attention to knowing yourself and what brought you joy?
I would say very early on, from when I was a child, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
really. I think I've always been aware of that. I like to have fun.
Yeah.
And adventure. So I was aware that was something that was not necessarily what everyone else liked to do. It's not a positive or a negative. It's just something I recognized about myself when I was quite young. And anything that was adventure, slightly risk taking. For a couple of years, my dad got involved in something, I'm not sure if it's the same terminology there, a self-build group. So himself and 9 other guys, when we were kids, they built their own houses.
Wow.
And I just love climbing, with the other kids. We'd climb up over piles of bricks and make fires. And and do all sorts of things we shouldn't really do. But yeah, I think since I was a child, I've been aware that I like to have fun and I like adventure and risk.
Wow.
And that hasn't changed. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, yeah, so from climbing over bricks as a child, what as, like, a young adult or even an adult now, have you done? Like, what's the riskiest thing that you've
I
tried?
suppose in different areas. So I, did the traditional thing of, going to school and going through high school but I couldn't wait to get out. I wanted to explore the world. And actually, I particularly wanted to come to the United States. I wanted to, here in the UK, it's as in a lot of Europe, the rest of the world, it's part of our culture. We all grew up watching films from the United States, bands. So I was just really keen to come to the States to travel. So I couldn't wait to get out of school and save up money. And I came to California, where I've got family, also to Seattle, and spent quite a few months over
Nice.
there. So travel is always something that's been a priority for me. So yeah, in that respect, traveling, doing things. Of course, when I was younger with a friend in Europe, we did things that would be considered risky then and risky now. We hitchhiked a lot. So
Yeah.
hitchhiking in France and parts of Europe.
And you've lived
Yeah,
to tell us about it.
it was great. Of course, we thought, no, yeah, well, I mean, of course, we knew that there were risks and that things could go wrong. But I think the other thing is I've always take calculated risks. So we bought the house that we've lived in for 30 years, my husband and myself, when we had young kids, and we really took a risk on, can we really afford this? But I'm often very clear about what I want, and then I think about the options and possibilities about how am I going to get it. But yeah, it's calculated risks. I don't think I've ever done anything really stupid that hasn't, that's
Yeah.
been disastrous.
Wow.
You're lucky.
I'm aware of that there's an element of luck in all of that. I've as a teenager, I've been in a car when the other drivers are drunk. I've smoked marijuana and driven myself. I've done all the sort of stupid things that
Yeah.
often comes with youth. Yeah, and I've been lucky without a doubt. And I've seen friends and contemporaries who have not been lucky. So yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely an element of luck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Like I can think of things that, I did in my youth that, you know, I probably wouldn't do now if I was the same age, just because, we all know the risks. Like for us, the risky thing for us is we moved from South Florida, upstate New York, didn't know a soul, did that. That was a very calculated risk. And then leaving my job after 15 years, and not really having a plan. But like all those things all worked out for the best, right? Now we have this tremendous group of friends that we love dearly. Now I have a job and a podcast that I love dearly. Like, you look back and, certain times of your life, shit wasn't in the wheelhouse. And then, it just kind of happens. I'm a tiny bit of a risk taker. I'm a little bit more careful now because at 60, shit breaks. And then when it breaks, it takes a really long time for it to heal. So the risks that I'm going to take are going to be, something I probably thought about, but I won't do like the things I did as a kid and not even have a thought process around it. I just do it.
I still take risks, but they're very different from the ones I did when I was younger. Yeah, I mean, even today, because it's fall here, as it is with you guys, I was walking down the street and being very careful not to slip on the wet leaves. It's just something, I mean, you can do that when you're 20 and break your leg, but what you realize when you get older is, yeah, but it's going to take a lot longer to get better and to heal. So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's try and avoid that.
Yeah, I remember making jokes of, like, when I lived in upstate New York, if I slipped on the ice walking, like, I thought it was funny, like, "Oh, look at me, I'm slipping and falling and hurting myself, how funny," and now I'm like, "Am I gonna break something? Could I break an arm, a leg? Like, what will happen?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you do today, Jill.
Day I went into town, yeah, because I thought I'm going to start maybe thinking about getting Christmas gifts. And yeah, I had a look around and got a few ideas. So yeah, that was a very easy morning for me. And then I bumped into a friend, which was great because she said, "You got time for coffee?" And I did. So that's lovely when, you don't plan something like that and just both find that you've both got time to spend a bit
That's
of time with
nice.
each other. So that was good. And then I came back and I've been reading. Yeah.
What are you currently reading?
Well, I went to an area of the UK a few weeks ago, well, about 2 weeks ago, called Yorkshire. And that's where the Bronte sisters lived 200 years ago. One of them wrote Pride and Prejudice, one of them wrote Jane Eyre, another one wrote Wuthering Heights. So I thought, I read Wuthering Heights years and years and years ago. I thought, "Do you know what? I'm going to read it again." So, yeah, that's what I'm ploughing through. And I say I'm
Nice.
ploughing through it because it's not an easy read, but yeah, it's been interesting.
And you love it, even
Yeah,
though it's not
yeah,
an easy read. Man, we have,
yeah.
you don't wanna know what I'm reading. Well, nothing that great, but, I feel like I've just started sort of getting back into it. I when I was younger, I used to read a lot. I remember reading Pride and Prejudice, and I don't
Mm,
know, I was just very into, like, strong women characters, and I would read
yeah,
all the time. And then, life happens, and you kind of step away from it, and you find other distractions and other ways to sort of get out of your head. So yeah,
yeah.
now I read adult, stories. It's not good.
I can't with you. No,
So
no.
in addition to reading, you also write, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I do. And in fact, that's one reason why I don't read anywhere near as much in terms of novels anymore because I write books, I also do a lot of reading, research around the subjects that I write about. So that's great. But unfortunately, yeah, by the time the sort of end of the day comes and I think, right, I'm going to pick up a novel and read it, I'm just all read out. So but yeah, I write. I've written quite a few books in the last more than 10 years now. Yeah.
And what do you write about?
So I write around the subjects of well-being, personal development, work, careers, mental health, although anything and everything that's around that. So it can be emotional intelligence, assertive communication, mindfulness.
How did you fall into that?
As I said earlier, I couldn't wait to leave school and go traveling, and I did that. But by the time I'd got married and had children, once they started school, I'd stayed at home with them once they started school, well, before they started school. But once they did, I thought, what am I going to do? I don't have any real employable skills that fit around kids. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll go back to school now I'm an adult. So I went and did a degree in social anthropology. I figured while the kids are at school, I might as well be at school. It's sort of timing it all fitted around them. And that was fascinating. I really enjoyed that. Social anthropology is about people's cultures, their values, their beliefs, their traditions, their history. So that sort of really pulled together a lot of what I'd observed and experienced in my travels. But before I did that degree, I had to do a course to help me to build, for all the adults that went on to do a degree, to build their confidence and self esteem and their ability to write essays. And I found that utterly inspiring because I didn't think I'd done well at school, and neither did anyone else on that course. But this really helped us. The two guys that were the course leaders really boosted our self esteem, helped us to realize that we've got potential, all of us. And I thought that actually, after degree, I was so inspired by that. I thought that's what I want to do, to be able to help people to realize their potential, whether it's because they're struggling a lot with
Mhm.
aspects of their life or they're not struggling, but it just hadn't occurred to them that there's a lot more out there for them. So then I trained to be a tutor in adult education and just got into teaching courses around assertiveness, confidence building. I went back to the university and was hired to teach study skills, which a huge amount of study skills is not just knowing how to study, but having the confidence to know that you're doing okay. So, yeah, that's how I got into all of that. And then with a colleague, we were very interested in the idea of resilience. So we thought my colleague, my friend Sue, she was also had been an English teacher. So she, although she hadn't written a book, English was her thing. English was my favourite subject at school, and we thought, well, maybe we could write a book. I know everybody, well, many people think that, but we were just really fortunate that we approached a publisher and said, look, we've got this idea for a book on how to be more resilient, how to build your resilience. It's based on a lot of the work that we've done helping people to be more resilient. And they said, yeah, yes, please. We were, wow, really? Yeah, and that was my first book with my colleague and friend Sue.
What's it called?
It's called Bounce. Use the power of resilience to live the life you want.
Mm.
And it didn't really sell much, but we were so thrilled. I think anyone
Yeah,
would be and is if they see their book in print and on a bookshelf in a bookshop.
yeah.
So we were just thrilled with that. But then our editor said, "Well, what else do you teach, and what do people really respond to?" And we said, oh, well, that's an easy one. Assertiveness, assertive communication. People, it's always a very popular course. And she said, well, that's your next book then. And sure enough, we wrote that together and that did sell really well.
Wow. What's that one called?
Yeah. That's just called How to Be Assertive.
I like that. I probably should read that. I'm not very assertive. I mean, I'm more of like, I try to be like even keel and I kind of wiggle worm my way into what I need to say or do. But yeah, I like those ideas.
The thing is with being assertive is it's very often it's an ideal way to communicate and behave, but there we also all behave in aggressive ways sometimes or passive ways and also passive aggressive ways. And there's reasons why we do that in different situations. So it's not a case of feeling that we shouldn't communicate and behave in other ways, but it's just very often people don't behave assertively or communicate assertively because they just don't know how. And actually, there's some very simple, straightforward steps. And you have to be confident. And you also have to know that sometimes other people don't like it if you assert yourself. They go, oh, you're so assertive. And yeah, not aggressive, because aggressive is
Yeah.
having your own way and barging everyone aside. But assertive means being very clear about what you want and taking responsibility for trying to get it, while at the same time taking into consideration other people's needs and wants. So it's quite a skill, but it's something we've all done in the past as well. If you just said to somebody, hey, could you help me pick up this table and move this over here? That's just you being assertive. That's
Mhm.
you saying, knowing exactly what you want and asking someone else to do it.
Mhm.
If they said no, I can't. I've just I've got a hernia, or I've no, so I'm not strong enough. So we are all already assertive in very simple ways. It's just knowing how to do that more in our interactions with other people.
I think that's really interesting because now, like when I think about my drama box and setting up my boundaries, that's my way of being assertive,
Mm.
of, taking care of my own needs
Yeah,
without, without, letting drama come in. So
yeah.
that's a really good, interesting perspective.
Yeah, and actually recognizing again with taking care of your own needs, taking responsibility for that and recognizing sometimes other people won't like that. It will get in the way of maybe of what they want to do. But yeah, you can't please all the people all the time. But as long as you're fair and clear and honest with people, it becomes their problem. We can't be responsible for everybody's feelings and reactions.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I feel like, thinking about myself, I feel like I can be assertive for other people. Like if I see like
Yes.
something is not quite right or, you know, somebody's being mistreated, I can be assertive for them, I think easier than I could be assertive for myself. So I don't know, I got some work to do, but
I think that's because we feel it's yeah, when we recognize a need in somebody else, it's easier to see the unfairness or it being unjust, and hey, this can't happen for this person, I'm going to support them or step in. But then when it comes to ourselves, we often question, yeah, but maybe I don't deserve it, or
Mhm,
maybe I shouldn't have this, or we start, doubts start to come in.
mhm.
It was absolutely freeing for me once I started setting up those boundaries and being assertive for myself. It's put me in such a better headspace than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And some people don't like it, and at this stage of my life, I don't really fucking care. It's my life, it's my happiness. It also helps people realize that maybe their assertiveness or their tactics for being assertive are not like the most beneficial to not just themselves but to other people around them.
Yeah, I just think with other people, when you are clear and honest and direct about what you will or won't do or don't need, then, for example, when you do say, yeah, hey, great, yeah, I'll do that and I'll be involved with that. And yes, I'm happy to help or do this, then people know you're being genuine because they know when you don't want to do something or say I'm not available for that. So when you say you are there, you obviously mean it. So I think you can come across as much more genuine when you can be assertive, and it also means that you can help other people to be assertive, to actually say, okay, guys, this is what I want to do, or where I'm at, or where I'm not prepared to do, but what about you? Come on, be honest. How would you like to do this? So actually, I think being assertive actually benefits everybody because you're clear about helping other people to be clear and direct and honest about what they want, and you're prepared to take that on, be open to that.
Yeah. And so you don't only write books for adults, but you write books for children as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was asked by one of my editors a few years back to write a book about anxiety, overcoming anxiety, not because I'm an expert on that at all, but because it was sort of in line with a lot of other stuff that I'd written about around emotional intelligence, positive thinking. And so I was interested to do that. So I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people. It's Unfortunately, it's very easy to find people to talk to about anxiety because so many people feel it in so many different ways. And in fact, I even dedicated the book on overcoming anxiety to a friend who just totally opened up to me and told me so much about how much she'd had to deal with when it came to anxiety over the years. She was a relatively new friend, so it wasn't like she disclosed all this and I was sort of like, oh my God, I had no idea. But, she was describing her past. But anyway, I wrote this book and I looked at, well, I wonder what's out there for children as well. So I looked up some books and just thought, I don't really feel there's anything that's particularly helpful in a way. And I had three kids myself. I used to be a carer for other people's children. So, and I'd done some stuff around child psychology as well. So I thought, "Do you know what? But while it was fresh in my mind, I thought I'm going to write a book for children on overcoming and managing anxiety and worry. So it was based on what I'd researched and discovered from that, and also from my own experience with my own children. And I thought, well, I'm just going to approach some publishers. It took a couple of years,
Mm.
but eventually one of them said, yeah, we would be interested, but really we'd like a series of books. I went, wow, really? Um, okay. So we discussed it, and I suggested a book on managing for children on managing anger, one on managing being teased and bullied, another one on jealousy. So, yeah, a series of 8 books with. I was really pleased that the editor suggested that at the back of each book there would be notes for parents and carers and educators. So although the child would read the book or you'd read the book with the child, I was able to put in the back of each book some sort of tips and ideas for how a parent could support their child with whatever the issue was. And we found a great illustrator. So they're beautifully illustrated. Yeah, it really is quite something to write and then have someone else actually take all your ideas and literally illustrate them. I felt like that must be what it's like with Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Bernie Taupin writes the lyrics and then Elton John puts it all to music. I mean, it must be amazing for Bernie Taupin to have that, mustn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. I like that you just mentioned you have notes in the back for parents because I have a 6-year-old and I started getting kind of books around like dealing with emotions or just different types of people and I would read it and always kind of be like, is this enough? Like, is that like all I have to do is read a book and like, boom, you're like brilliant? Like, I don't know. So I
Yeah.
love that. What is that series called?
It's called Kids Can Cope. You can go on Amazon or any of the big booksellers and just put my name, Gill Hasson, into Amazon or Kids Can Cope and up will come these books.
I'm legit getting them. Like it is happening. Like I cannot wait because I think like he's just at that stage where he's got a lot of big emotions and I don't know that he knows what they mean or why they're
Yeah.
there and I'm trying to help him identify that. Like we started meditating, which that has been hilarious to meditate with a 6-year-old. But yeah, I just want him to kind of understand himself a little bit better. So
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our listeners are like all different ages, and they have kids and they have grandkids and
Yeah.
our nieces and nephews. I mean, like I'm interested. I might read the books.
Yeah.
Because as we get older, we regress a tiny bit. You know,
Yeah, well, we regress, but the other thing is, I actually gave the manuscript first of all to one of my nieces who has young children herself, and she's 35, and she said, "Well, I learned a lot from that, just from reading the book with my kids." So, yeah, I think that's another thing that we find when we are with children, whether, yeah, as you say, are our kids, their nieces, nephews, but when you're discussing and explaining things and exchanging views with children, you just learn so much again. It takes you back to what did I think when I was that age, or what was my experience? And yeah, having to explain things to kids is and discuss things with them it's great for all of us because it touches the child within us as well, exactly as you say.
and I think the other great thing too is like helps us to normalize that stigma around mental health, right? And
Yeah.
dealing with those emotions and bring it to the forefront, like when they're young, and not feeling so alone or isolated when they're adults and they're feeling those types of feelings or stuff is happening to them. Having those books and being able to go back to them and read them, I think is really cool.
Yeah, the talking about emotions. One of the other things is we all actually have a very limited vocabulary for emotions, which is what I find interesting. We tend to use the same words, each of us. We have our own sort of words. So I'm happy, I'm thrilled, I'm really excited, or, I'm pissed off, or I'm sad, or I'm angry. But there's a whole gamut of stuff in between all of that. So, sometimes you might say to someone, "Gosh, you seem really disappointed." And if they're quite emotionally aware, they might say, "No, actually, do you know what? I'm not disappointed. I'm frustrated. That's what
Mhm.
I am." So I think that's something else we can do with children that's helpful for ourselves as well is actually widen our vocabulary because our emotions are very nuanced. We have these basic emotions: happiness, sadness, disgust, joy. Can't remember the other. There's 7 basic emotions, but there's such a load of nuanced ones in between that. So looking up words for emotions and discussing what the differences mean. I mean, even something like I have to let you into a bit of a secret here. I once wrote, I thought I'm going to write something about managing jealousy. So I wrote a piece in a book all about jealousy. And then in a further book, I thought, do you know what? I've written about jealousy, but how does that differ from envy? They're the same thing, aren't they? Oh, no, they are not. I discovered that jealousy and envy are two different things. And where I had written in the first book all about jealousy, I was actually describing envy.
Oh, no. So tell us
No one's ever written to me about that, but quite simply, and I often say to people, "What do you think well, let me ask you guys, what's the
I have
difference
an
between
idea.
jealousy and envy?"
Here, when you said the 2 words, the difference to me, what it means, I feel like if I was jealous, I want what they have. If I'm envious, I appreciate what they have. Like, I don't want it, I'm like, "Oh, that must be really nice to have that." I don't know.
Yeah, yes and no. It's okay.
Failed.
Okay.
Failed.
Any more answers? Any more guesses?
Mine was going to be similar to what Dirty Skittles is, but like, see, this is us learning.
Yeah.
Sure.
Write
Okay,
write
I'll
this
tell
down.
you.
Yeah, write it
I'll
out.
tell you. And my interpretation, I've researched it. I've looked it up in dictionaries and psychology books. So quite simply, when you're jealous, you're afraid that someone's going to take away something that you've got.
Mm.
So if you're jealous of someone talking to your partner, for example, that's a classic thing that
Mhm.
people go, I'm jealous of that, he or she's talking to my partner. You're concerned that they're going to win over their affections and take your partner away from you. Whereas when you're jealous, you're afraid that someone's going to take away something that you've got through some particular special powers or abilities or skills that they've got. If you're envious, you want something that someone else has got.
Mm.
So if I envy your house, I might say, "Wow, I love your house. I'm so envious." I would really, not in a nasty way, but I would really like to have a house like you've got.
Yeah.
But I can't be jealous of your house because it doesn't threaten me in any way. So jealous is feeling threatened. Envy is more benign. It's more like, "Oh, I'd love to have what you've got."
Right. Learning new shit every day.
Every day, right? And this is why I love doing the podcast, because we learn something new with every episode. And
Cool.
it's stuff we can carry with us, right? And Jill, I love everything you've done. I like
Mhm.
the books, and yeah, I mean, you've opened my eyes, and now I'm going to go buy all your books.
Right. I love you for that.
Right? So I have 3 fun questions for
Yeah.
us to sort of kind of end on. First one, when you think about your day to day, what has inspired you today?
What has inspired me? The friend that I bumped into quite by accident. She she's amazing. She's as a mature student herself, she also retrained and now she works as an occupational therapist in a mental health facility. And she told me today that she's just been offered a new job working with people who are managing quite high end mental health difficulties, personality disorders, and schizophrenia. And she's worked really hard to get there, and she's just great at
Mm.
working with other people. So that inspired me. The fact that she goes, well, I live on the coast in the UK. She goes swimming in the sea every day, and every time, unless it's really rough and dangerous, but every time I see her, I say, "You've been swimming today?" She says, "Yeah." I think, "Oh
Aw.
my goodness,
Mhm.
I mean, I just can't even have a cold shower. I can't bear it." So yeah, a couple of things about her today. Her name's Lara. Yeah, that
Aw.
I find inspiring. She brought up her child, from a very young age. She's had it quite tough, but she's just persevered. She's been persistent. And what I know again about persistence, about the different words that we use, is with persistence, it doesn't mean you just keep doggedly going and you just keep pushing through and barging everything out the way. Persistence means that when you do come across difficulties and challenges, you are flexible and you find another way around it. So it's looking at moving forward, but looking at, well, okay, there's a block. So how can I get around that? What are my options? How can I do that? So yeah, she inspires me
Wow.
with her ability to do that.
G-Rex, what about you? What inspired you today?
The weather, the weather,
Yeah.
because it's starting to get cooler and get, and cold weather reminds me really of the holidays.
Mhm.
So it inspired me to clean my office up a little bit today so I can get everything ready for the holidays and just some different things, different traditions we're going to try out this year with our family and our friends.
I love that.
I'm like I said, I'm in a much, much, much better headspace this year than I was last year, and I want to try and do some things that my mom really liked doing around the holidays, and instill that kind of into what we do now for the holidays.
I love that. That's awesome.
Right.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Being outside, getting out of the house, being in the fresh air, looking at the last bits of leaves as they fall, like just being
Yeah.
outside. It was very calming and relaxing and refreshing. It was all inspiring. And it also was like, take a minute, right? Like take a minute away from the craziness and just kind of get outside. So
That's good.
next question.
Yeah.
Looking at your career so far, what has been the most rewarding thing?
Seeing other people fulfill their potential in so many ways. I'm just so fortunate that people keep in touch. I get immediate feedback. Sometimes people tell me, wow, that was, such a great book or a lesson or a course that they've been on. Yeah, people email me and tell me about how my books have really helped them to get through a difficulty in life or inspired them to do something in life. So yeah, that's just the feedback. I'm very fortunate that I get that people let me know how much what I do and my work has helped them.
Yeah. I feel like that's us too. Like we can share that sentiment in the podcasts that we have. Like it's very rewarding to hear that people are listening and enjoy it. So,
Yeah, and I think it's something that it's important for people to realize that you don't have to write a book, run a course, or deliver a podcast, that we can all contribute
mhm,
towards each other in
yeah.
some way. I know it's a cliche, but it's the little kindnesses that count. It's just maybe complimenting somebody in a store who works behind the counter,
Mhm.
or yeah,
Just be nice to
just
each
doing
other.
some small thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Be
kind.
nice. Be kind.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay, last one. And
Hmm.
G-Rex, you've answered this before, so feel free to skip it if you want. Last one, Jill. If you can go back to a younger version of yourself, what would you tell yourself and how old would you be?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, that's interesting. I would I would tell my young teenage self. So sort of between the ages of 12 to 18, you know what? Things will work out. You will become an adult and you will be a lot more independent and be able to make your own choices and forge your own path. You're just going to have to wait it out. You'll find your um, it's an expression we use here. I don't know if you do that. You'll find your own tribe. I
Mhm.
had friends as a kid, but not people that I really felt that I they understood me and I understood them. That happened once I got into my late teens. I found the right sort of people and friends. So that's what I tell myself. Just be patient. And unfortunately, that was something I just grew up with anyway. My dad used to say to me often, Jill, just be patient. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I actually do have one.
Go
So
for it.
I would have been in my 40s
Oh,
and I would have told myself, set those boundaries.
Mm.
I think if I had done that
Right.
in my 40s, that things would have been different for me going forward. Like, I probably wouldn't have had a mental breakdown. I probably would have made some better career decisions, things like that.
Mm,
Setting boundaries is super important,
It
yeah,
is.
and
I
you
totally
have to
agree.
make it a you've got to make it a priority.
Yeah, you have. You've got to be assertive with yourself. You've got to say, no, this is what I decided my limits were. That's it.
I agree. Well, this has been wonderful, Jill. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
Thank
much
Jill.
you.
for hanging out with us, talking to us about what you do. I swear to you, I'm going to buy the series. I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah.
And as soon as you said Amazon, I was like, yes, getting it now. Like, it's happening.
Great. I've had a great time chatting with you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.